On this Women's International Day, I thought this was very apropos, and it is from the Women's Club of Englewood. It is our colic. So let me read that to you. Keep us, O God, from pettiness. Let us be large in thought, in word, in deed. Let us be done with fault finding and leave off self-seeking. May we put away all pretense and meet each other face to face without self-pity and prejudice. May we never be hasty in judgment and always generous. Let us take time for all things. Make us to grow calm, serene, and gentle. Teach us to put into action our better impulses, straightforward and unafraid. Grant that we may realize that it is the little things that create the differences, that in the big things of life, we are all one. And may we strive to touch and to know the great common human heart of us all. And let us forget not to be kind. That's it, Donovan.
Thank you so much, Alita.
You're welcome.
That is so important, especially now with everything that's happening in the world. We need to remind ourselves that we are all one and that we should be kind to each other. I'd like to welcome our guests. I know we have Dr. Bellande and Jennifer Sifuentes, but do we have any other guests?
From the district? No, I mean, just the
no, I meant generally, not from the district.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. So thanks, Dr. Bolandi. So next, if there are any announcements, Alita.
You're muted.
Okay, here I am again. Can
That's
you
an
hear me
extra
now?
dollar. That's an
Can you
extra
hear me
dollar,
now?
Alita.
Oh, she's quick with that. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to announce last night I did attend the district meeting. Charlotte was there, Jim Cole. In fact, Charlotte did a presentation on peace. Just wanted to say a word about the Ukraine. The Fort Lee Club made a donation to the Ukraine, and that's posted on Facebook. Last night, it was decided at the district meeting that any monies coming from clubs should be sent to Walter Head, the Walter Head Foundation at the district, and they will combine the money from the clubs. Our district governor has asked for $5,000 from the district for the Ukraine. They already have $2,500. And he did say if any club wants to step up, if they can afford to, and provide the other $2,500, please do so. I think we all saw on television, and I know Diane posted as well as myself, the Fallon Club was on television this week, and the district secretary, Forrest Elliott, collected 4,500 diapers, 3,600 wipes, and 20 boxes of formula for the Ukraine. And he partnered with the Ukrainian church in Clifton. The Fallon Club was in on that, and it was all on television, on News 12, if you saw it. Past district governor Gloria Counselor has been in touch with a bank in Warsaw, and they're going to decide how to best get the money there, the district is. Past district governor John Mitchell suggested that clubs could do shelter boxes. Remember that? Florence used to always push for shelter boxes. So that's a thought. The President's Ball and Banner Exchange will be combined again this year. It'll be in person. It will be at Seasons, and it's going to be June 30th. So please come to support your outgoing president, to support the new district governor and the outgoing district governor. More to follow. That's it.
Alita.
Yeah, who is that? Okay.
Phil. Alita. Could our club put a hat in the middle and solicit dollars, some dollar contributions from members specifically for Ukraine in terms of meeting the governor's goal of $5,000? for example, could we use today's happy dollars toward that event to be supplemented
Okay.
by whatever other contributions would come from other members?
I think you certainly could, but that's
that's
up
not a
to,
leader's
that's up to
call.
Donovan.
Yeah, that's not a leader's
Sue, I'm
call.
answering the question. I'm answering it, Sue. I got
Well,
it.
yeah, look, I don't care whose call it is.
Yeah,
I think the effort is more important than the designation.
that's a great effort. And Donovan, what do you think of that?
I absolutely agree with you, Phil. I think each member should pledge $100 towards Ukraine, and after Happy Dollar, hopefully when Jackie comes back, we can have a board meeting and it will be approved by the board that we could make this contribution.
I will pledge $100 toward that effort.
Me too.
Dina, as far as you know, within Bergen County, or any of the clubs planning or actually doing, putting together humanitarian care packages, medical supplies?
Well, as
You said
I
somebody-
just said, as I just said,
That's not Bergen County.
I said the Fairlawn Club is Bergen County.
Oh, it is?
And yes, and they certainly did that.
Okay.
And as Forrest Elliott, what club is that? Do you know, Jim Cole? What club is he in?
I don't know.
Charlotte, do you know? I don't remember.
Leader, this is Walter. I'm pretty sure the Hackensack Club is doing the same thing as well.
Okay, I just so we don't lose the momentum. I believe Rodriques said he would offer a pledge of $100, as I would. So that's two pledges plus today. I assume, Rodriques, can we combine that with today's Happy Dollars?
Absolutely. I'm hoping that during Happy Dollars, everybody would donate $100, but let's see how it goes when we get there.
Good,
So,
good.
okay, thanks, Phil. That was a great suggestion. Thanks, Alita. Now I will ask Ms. Diane Johnson to introduce today's guest speaker.
Thank you. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. Ronald Bellande. As many of you know, Dr. Bellande is a well-known turnaround professional when it comes to school districts. Since his retirement in 2010, he has helped numerous school districts, such as Plainfield, Montclair, Bedminster, Kearney, and Edison. The latter, Edison, having one of the largest K through 12 school districts in the state with 15,000 students. Dr. Bellande joined Englewood as interim superintendent in March 2020, if I'm correct, initially for 3 months. And he agreed to stay on board by popular demand from the board, teacher, and the entire community until a permanent superintendent is hired. Do I have the year right, Dr. Bellande? Time is flying. Before officially retiring, Dr. Bellande was superintendent in the East Windsor Regional School District from 2004 to 2010. And during his tenure there in Montclair, he kept all work focused on students. Initiatives began in programming, tutoring, curriculum, administration, and more have a focal point of improving the achievement learning gap. He has extensive experience in finance, supervising budgets in excess of 90 million and construction projects totaling $250 million. In the area of evaluation and assessment, he has worked with staff to develop state-of-the-art programs that assist and improve direct instruction to enhance student achievement. In Piscataway, in conjunction with the Teachers Association, he developed a state-recognized model staff development program, which was replicated in East Windsor. So without further ado, he has many associations, and I won't list them all. I'd like to turn over Dr. Bellande to you instead.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, when you're around a long time and you retire and then come back, you wind up seeing a lot of places. So I appreciate that. It's hard to follow all of that. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate being here today. this is important for me to try to raise awareness in the community and with various different groups, where the district is, where it's going to be going. And that was my mission. I was hired by the Board of Education. As you heard just now, I'm retired. I retired in 2010. And when I left, I decided to come back to help districts that were in need. And that's usually what happens. I go into districts that either have issues with their administration or have issues with various things that they're facing, and they need someone who's a veteran to come in and try to help them. When I got the phone call last, I guess it was around the end of February, maybe sometime in that time frame, that Englewood had not opened. As you know, Englewood was still closed for the pandemic when most of the school districts in the state and definitely in Bergen County were all open. The board was concerned about that. At the same time, and in conjunction with not being open, the board parted its ways with the former superintendent. So now they had a dilemma. They weren't open, and the governor was breathing down their neck because the governor actually made personal phone calls to the districts in New Jersey that were not open. Englewood was one of those districts where the governor's office was saying, why aren't you open? And then on top of that, they didn't have a superintendent. So I got a phone call and asked me if I would be willing to come in and help them open. Number one, I actually had a couple of different charges. Number one was get the school district open and by April, so we could meet the governor's order. After that, to look at and review the curriculum, the instruction, the assessments, and actually do what we call a curriculum audit to find out where the district was, where the students of the district was performing, what levels were they performing at, and actually develop a plan to move the district forward. And my job was to develop programs that are sustainable, because obviously I'm retired. I have a limited window on when I can work and how long I can work. And the next charge was to help the board find a superintendent. So I had a bunch of charges in there. And I can tell you we've been successful in all of them. The district opened in April, really without much fanfare. We had no difficulty, even though they had not been open for almost 18 months. And then we opened and closed in June. And then we had to reopen in September, still under the guidelines of COVID, as all you remember. But during that time period, we did a curriculum audit. I brought a gentleman who used to work with me as my assistant superintendent, who has an expertise in curriculum instruction and assessment. He's in South Carolina, by the way. I brought him out of retirement just to help me do the audit. That document I would reference to you now is on the website. I'm going to just give you a little overview. It would take hours for me to explain it, and I don't think you have that time to do that. So what I would say to you, if you really want to, you'll hear me talk a little bit this morning about what's going on in Englewood. If you really want to look at it in detail, I would reference you to two documents that are on the website, the audit and the PowerPoint, which explains some of the assessment issues that we have in the district and student performance. So that's important to look at. So let me just give you a quick overview of what that audit has in it. And then I'm just going to point to you where we are academically and what we're trying to do. And then I'll give you an update on the superintendent search, which is the last chore that I had to look at and help the board with. The board, I have to say this, the board has been extremely supportive of what we're trying to do here and the changes we're trying to make. I could not have done any of the things that we've done over the last couple of months without the support of the board. And that is welcome, because you don't have that in a lot of places. You know, a lot of times, you know, I was a superintendent 25 years before I retired. I've had some great boards and I've had some awful boards. This, you know, this board allows me to do what I do best, you know, run a school district during the day. I mean, I've been successful at that. And I've run districts as small as, well, I should say small, because Englewood is 20. I was going to say as small as 3,000, but Englewood's in that area, and as large as 17,000. So I understand organization and I understand curriculum instruction, and the board allows me to do that, and I appreciate that. The community has been very supportive, but more important, you're going to hear some alarming results today, and I think it's important to understand these results and to understand what we have to do to get to the next level, because that's important, because we can't get to the next level of really advancing our school district unless kids can read and write on grade level. And that's important for you to know. And I'm going to explain that in a few minutes, of where we are, of how many kids are not reading and writing on grade level, and they're not ready, college ready, and they're not ready for advanced programming. And we have to understand that. I mean, one of my jobs is, it's probably not the most pleasant job in the world, but one of my jobs is to point out the issues, if you will, the problems, and don't sugarcoat it, and tell it like it is, and then give you solutions. Because, you know, a lot of people can come in a school district and tell you what the problems are, just like evaluating anything. Someone come in and evaluate a company and say, hey, you got to do X, Y, and Z. You got to give them a plan. It's one thing to tell you why the company's not doing well, or why the students aren't doing well, and that's easy to do, and that's very simplistic. But what's more complicated is, how are you going to fix that? What are you going to do to make this a better school district for the students that are in it? And that's what that plan is. So I reference you to that plan. I think it's very important. If you hear what I have to say today and it alarms you, I know it will, go to the plan and you will see how we're going to change the flow of education in this school district. That kind of gives you an overview of what my charge was. What did I find? I mean, this is real important. Donovan, can I share my screen? Can you do that?
Yes,
Am
you
I
can.
good? Can I do it right now? Okay.
Yes, you can. Mhm.
Let me see if I can capture this. Oh, I'm in a Zoom here. Can everybody see that? Can everybody see it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
Yes.
through this. I'm going to go through this quickly. I'm not going to go over every slide. I'm just going to give you a flavor for where the district is, you know, and how we match up, about how we look at things, you know, and we're going to look at just an example of AP is advanced placement courses. Advanced placement courses are approved by the College Board. These are courses that a while ago, not recently, maybe there's only 100 districts in the country to do it now. If you received a 4 or 5 on the placement test after taking a course in our district, you would then possibly be eligible for college credit. Well, this starts to give you our academic progress in this district. I will tell you that this district has suffered for years with the lack of understanding of how to use data and the lack of understanding of student achievement. You need to know that as a community. That squarely is on the back of the administrators. It's not on the back of the teachers. The teachers have worked hard in this district to maintain whatever they've tried to maintain, you know, with limited resources and really limited support. I squarely blame this lack of academic performance. And I'm going to be very frank with you, because I'm retired and I'm 71 years old. And I had an uncle once tell me, when you get over 70, you can kind of say whatever you want to say. And that's just the way it is. So, you know, you had the administration of this district for years really created this problem, and boards of education and community, because you didn't hold people accountable. And as a board of education in a community, if you don't hold the superintendent of schools accountable for student achievement, you're not doing your job. And obviously for the last at least 10 years, because this is the train wreck in motion. This didn't just happen last year. What you're going to see is going to be alarming. And let's start so you can see it. And then I'm going to tell you how we're going to fix it. Okay. Remember what I said, you got to get at least a 4 or 5 to get credit. These are our best kids, remember. I'm going to show you our best kids to our most academically challenged kids, all in these slides. Even our best kids are not performing. You know, 15% in biology got a 4 or 5. Chemistry, 6, 21, 3, 27. That's awful. Social studies, we did a little better. 43% of our kids got a 4 or 5. In government, history, 41, economics, 31. A little better, not great. Mathematics, in our AB calculus, we did really well. In our statistics, we didn't. In other departments, art, poorly. Spanish, we did well. So if you look at that, we only did well in 4 AP courses out of all the AP courses we teach. These are the best and brightest kids. When you take the PSAT, this is the preliminary to the SAT, which, as all of you know, the SAT is one of the tests that helps you get into college. PSAT is a very good predictor of college readiness. It's a very good predictor of how your students will do in college. And we broke this up by what's in our high school. You all know we have an academy in the high school. At least I think you know we have an academy in the high school, different learning communities within that academy. We do accept a number of students that come from outside the school district to Dwight Morrill, and they are part of what we call the academy. And so we broke it down to show you where each of our students are. It's alarming to see that our students who are residents of Englewood are doing so poorly. In math, college ready, now we're talking about the high school, the students that are in Dwight Morrill, 1% are college ready. This test was just given in the fall. This is live, real data. Very predictable for college readiness. The academy students, 48%. Think about that. The students that we accept in our district that are supposed to be the best and the brightest from other districts aren't, because only 48% of them are college ready. Students that are from other places in Englewood, like Englewood Cliffs, come from charter schools, come from parochial schools, and they come to our high school. That's what we'll call Englewood. So that's 22%. And the state of New Jersey, in the state of New Jersey, the average is 35. And that takes every district in the state in. That takes all of the urban districts in, all of the suburban districts in, all the rural districts, and that gives you an idea of where we're going. So less than 1% of the students that are in our school system that have come from the middle school or come from the elementary school in mathematics are not college ready. In language arts, English, reading, writing, a little better, but not great for our kids. 21% of the students that were in our system, Englewood proper, 21% are college ready. Now it gets a little better from the students that come outside the district. 81% of those students are college ready. If you put them together, it's about 48% of our kids are college ready. In the state, 60% are college. We're below the state. And think about that. That's not a dubious honor, by the way. And I'm going to skip down. This is the alarming data in our elementary school. This is the problem. Students get to high school, they have to have a base. And their base is they have to be able to do mathematics, and they have to write and read as close to grade level as possible if they want to be college ready, and if they want to be successful, and if they want to get into AP courses, or they want to get into the academy. So for our elementary school students that come here pre-K through 8, this is the alarming data that you're going to look at. In mathematics, in the new test, the New Jersey in the fall tested to see where students were after the pandemic. And by the way, this is not the fault of the pandemic. This is the fault of a good 10 years of mediocre instruction based on mediocre staff development and based on mediocre people trying to help teachers help kids. So like I said, I wasn't going to sugarcoat it today. I didn't sugarcoat it in the public board meeting either. Matter of fact, I think I probably was worse. In grade 4, 96% of our kids are in need of remediation in math, 80% in language arts. 5th grade, 93, 4th grade, 6th grade, 94, 7, 97, 8, 95. Language arts, a little better, 71%, 76, 76, 77. That means that, well, let me go to, and that gives you that data. What does that tell you about that data before I go back to the high school? That tells you that approximately, when you add it all up and you look at it, 80% of our students in the district are performing below grade level in mathematics. In language arts, it gets to be in the 70s. So that's an alarming data. Now, you might look at this and say, that's one test. It really doesn't mean anything. Well, let me tell you what we did in Englewood. We triangulated this data, and we decided to bring in another test that was already being used in the district. And we also met with the teachers to see if this data was accurate. And then we did the other test to see if it was accurate. And we tested twice. We tested once in the spring, once in the fall, and now we tested in the winter. And I'm going to give you I'll give you some good news as we move on. And then we'll test again in the, state will come in and test again in May. Okay, so that tells you we're in trouble in the elementary school. Let's talk about where we are in the high school. Algebra 1, 95% of our kids are in remediation. Geometry 85, algebra 2, 84, science 92, language arts 9, language arts 10, 56 and 49. Same structure in the high school. So what does this tell me? What does this tell you as leaders of this community? What it tells us is we have an academic program that's not meeting the needs of the students. And we have an academic program that is in need of a major infusion of something. This data has been here for a long time. Don't be fooled by people telling you. That's one of the narratives we have in Englewood, I find. People generate false negatives in Englewood. They make up excuses for bad behavior. And this is bad behavior. And we're not going to make excuses for it. This is not because of the pandemic, kids being out 18 months of school. That's not the reason. And the reason is not that our kids can't learn, because that's not true. And the worst part about this data is the majority of kids that can't read and write on grade level and do mathematics on grade level are Black and Latino. So add that dimension to this data. And also add the dimension that we have many students in the district that are in need of English as a second language, which means they need English language services, which we call bilingual or ESL, English second language, bilingual education. And that was seriously missing in the district. So you compound this problem by having most of our students are Black and brown who are not achieving. And then you further compound it by you have no programs that are significantly going to change the flow of this disaster we have here in the area of English as a second language, because that's the emerging population of Englewood. We are seeing more and more Latino families coming in with very limited English skills and very limited education skills where they're coming from. They're coming from the area of Central America, which is an issue when you have students coming in who have no English and no formal education. And that's what we're seeing. And those students were not being serviced. So it's a very bleak picture. Okay, now I just gave you the bad and the ugly. Now I'm going to give you the good. Okay, what happened when we had this data? It's really easy for me to present this, you know, and say what most people say in education. Wow, we got a mess, and they throw their hands up and they say, I don't know how to solve this. I really don't. Well, that didn't happen. Here's what we did. We recognized we had all this data. So we changed the middle school schedule, completely overhauled it. We did a schedule in 2 months that takes most of the time 2 years to do. We did it in 2 months. We increased our instruction in mathematics and language arts in the middle school from 40 minutes a day to 57 minutes a day. We departmentalized, which means we have specialists teaching reading and math in McLeod School in 3, 4, and 5. We brought what we call interventionists in, who have an expertise in mathematics and language arts in all our buildings, K through 8. And they are currently in the building working with our struggling learners and are seeing these students on a daily basis. We are looking at our pre-K program, which has to align with our regular program. And we had meetings with them yesterday to start to teach more numeracy and literacy in the early grade levels. Students, by the time they're 9 months to 12 months, their brains are about 70% formed. And we're not using that brain power that we have with our young students to learn more literacy and numeracy. And that's what we're doing in the early childhood areas. We've had in-service with our staff in K-8 to break this trend. We are currently looking at our current curriculum and instruction to change some of the materials we use to have better materials for our students next year. This is a 4-year cycle, 3-year cycle. Within 3 years, if we follow this plan, you will see tremendous improvement. Right now, if you have the opportunity, and I hope some of you do, tune into the board meeting next week, and I'll give you a quick preliminary. I don't have the slides. We're working on them right now. I'll give you a quick. Now, we started this in September. Remember what I said? We gave the board the bad and the ugly, but we also gave the board a plan and the community. And we said we're going to start it in September, and we did. And the elementary and middle school teachers were phenomenal. They jumped at this. Most of the time, when you present data like this, people get defensive. And the community and people in the community got defensive. And the reason they got defensive is they were part of the problem. And people who are part of the problem, when the problem's exposed, usually get defensive. It's common. Just you can, in everyday life, it's common. And in education, it's no different. Once you expose the nerve, people look to cover it. But we don't cover the nerve. We fix the nerve. Because once you cover the nerve, it's not going to get any better, by the way. It's going to eventually hurt again. You got to fix the nerve. It's like, think about a tooth. If you get a root canal, they take the nerve out. If they leave the nerve out, you're still going to have a bad tooth. Well, I got to tell you something. We took the nerve out. And now we got better teeth. And you'll see data next week that will show you we are starting to move in a positive direction in correcting this data in the elementary school. So please, if you can tune in, you will see some of the things that I just mentioned. And again, I don't want to take all your time. That report has volumes of things in there that I didn't mention. I'm just trying to give you an overview. You will see a much better prognosis in those grades. Okay, high school, what are we doing there? Because now we got a problem here now. Because remember, we got kids in high school who need remediation. We are currently, right now as we speak, we are currently going to revamp the entire high school schedule and increase the high school schedule so the students in the high school also have 57 minutes of instruction in their periods. We're going to change the way we do things in the high school. We're going to increase more contact time for the students, and we're going to do more, and we're going to increase, like we did in the elementary school. Next year, we will have remedial programs to deal with some of these issues. Okay, now I just talked a lot about remediation. I just talked a lot about where we're going to go. What are we going to do in the upper levels? How are we going to get our kids on the on-ramp rather than the off-ramp of academic achievement? Well, one of the things that I have been tasked with all my life, and most of my career is in urban America, so it's not in suburbia, and that's a big difference. One of the things that I've been very successful at is changing the flow of instruction for minority students and getting more minority students into advanced level courses and advanced level programming. One of the things you don't do is just don't put them in, because then they'll fail. It'll make you happy, but that won't make them happy because they'll fail. So what are we doing? We're developing programming that we know now that we have kids that have the ability. For the first time in this school district, we have data that can show the ability of the kids we have. And we are going to use that data to start to bring kids into these advanced programs with support. And that's what we're doing as we speak. We are notifying people as we speak that you have a student that we believe has the ability, by our little testing we're doing, that has the aptitude to be in honors and the academy courses. The only problem is they're going to have to take some, if you will, some remediation or some extra help so they can get in, so we can put them in those programs in September. That extra help is going to be done on weekends, and it's going to start within the next 2 weeks. I'm going to present it to the board next week. And we will have an on-ramp, which I know is going to get people crazy in this community, because everybody thinks the academy is an elite program. And what they'll tell you is, oh, he's watering down the academy. No, I'm not. You know what I'm doing? I'm giving Black and brown kids equal access to educational programs that this district pays for. I'm not watering down any program. I'm going to put the kids that have the ability, that have never been seen to have the ability because no one looked at it, they're going to wind up being in those advanced programs next year, and they're going to be in those Saturday tutorial programs, so they're ready for those programs in September, so more of our Black and brown kids can get into the higher level courses. Have I ever done that before? Absolutely. I was in a district that was, I don't know, 60 some odd percent minority. And we became an AP honor roll district within 3 years. And that district is still designated AP honor roll. What does that mean? AP honor roll means a high level of AP courses, which you kind of saw the ones we have. All the students will get at least a 4 or a 5. And there'll be a high percentage of minority students in those classes. And that's how you get designated AP honor roll. When we did that in the district that I was in many years ago, there were only 10 AP honor roll districts in the state of New Jersey. We were one of them. And we were the highest percentage of minority in the state. That district is still AP honor roll. My goal for this district is the same thing. Within 3 years, this district should be AP honor roll if we follow the plan. And by the way, there aren't many AP honor roll districts in the state. And just for the record, the district that surround you that everybody thinks are wonderful, none of them are AP honor roll, just for the record. Think about that. Everybody wants to say, hey, why aren't you like Tenafly? Why aren't you like blank? Why aren't you like this? Why aren't you like Northern Valley? They're not AP honor roll. We will be in 3 years if we follow this plan. So, but we have to follow the plan. If you don't follow the plan, we're going to be back to normal. So that kind of gives you an overview. Well, you know, I kind of gave you what the fixes in the elementary, the fixes in the high school, kind of gave you a breadth of information, probably information overload at this time. I do want to always reference you back to the plan. And I think it's important because I think that will help you understand, you know, what we're trying to do in Englewood. It's a overwhelming task. The Board of Education is ready for it. I know it. You know, Donovan's here today, one of the strongest supporters of what we do here, and has been from day one. Also, will hold my feet to the fire, which is important because as board members, you have to hold the superintendent's feet to the fire. And I think we have built something that I think, if properly maintained, is sustainable, and it's sustainable in all areas. We are developing bilingual and ESL programs for our non-English learners, and that program is being fairly successful right now. It's getting better. We have a director who was here for years, and unfortunately, whatever, through politics or whatever, stepped away from it. She's back in it. That's Mercedes Gill. So we have built a foundation. It's now whoever replaces me needs to start to put the bricks and mortar to build the building. The foundation's there. It's a solid foundation. It's just up to now the next person to now take that and build on it and continue to build on it. So when students leave Englewood, and especially our Black and brown students, they read and write and do math on grade level, and we get these students into our most highly performing programs. Because remember what I said in the beginning, students deserve equal access. And the students of Englewood, I hate to tell you this, and I might offend somebody, have never had equal access to the academy or the advanced programs. Not only can I prove that, I hope I don't have to, because you were sold a bill of goods for a lot of years, and that's got to go away. And I didn't come here. I think one of the reasons the board hired me was exactly what I just did. I gave you what's going on here, and I didn't sugarcoat it, and I will never sugarcoat it. And we need to start facing it, you know. And I'll leave it at this, and I'll stop if anybody has any questions before I bring my assistant superintendent on, who has been one of the biggest helps that I've had in performing this surgical strike on this district. many, many years ago, I left the field and I went into working in a rehab center. One of my degrees is in rehabilitation counseling and drug and alcohol. And I work with people who had addictions. And one of the things I learned from that before I came back in the field was that if you have an addiction, you really can't move on and get better unless you admit it. Once you admit it, you have the ability to probably get away from it and solve your addiction problem. So we spent a lot of time in counseling and in the program I worked in getting people to understand their addiction. That's what I've done to Englewood. You can't move on as a school district or a community unless you face the problem you have, and you face it head on, and you admit that it's a problem, and you admit to solving it. So the community leaders of this school district, the people that lead this community of Englewood, need to understand it's a problem, and that you need to understand that we need to fix it. And you started off this meeting with unity. Very important, unity, especially in our times today. Well, Englewood needs that unity. They need this community of residents, of parents, to come together and embrace the fact that it has a problem and embrace the solution. But here's what I will say. Hold the people accountable who replace me to that solution. Because if you don't hold people accountable and you play this nice game, you know, like, oh, everything's fine, everything's happy, and, you know, we get into all of this stuff. It's like, you know, a lot of times people don't realize that kids are doing poorly because teachers give them A's. Think about it. If your kid gets all A's on a report card, you going to complain? Probably not, unless you realize they can't read, and then you will complain. So my job over the next few months is to teach the community, teach the board, and teach the parents how to understand if their child is really learning. That's my job. And I've been doing that with the board, and I believe the board's got it. I've been trying to do, I know the teachers have it. And now it's my job to show the community at large, how do you hold someone accountable for student achievement? And this is the beginning of it. So that's you know, I did an overview for you. I hope I didn't give you too much to, you know, look at. I mean, again, if you please go to the website and look at the PowerPoint and look at that. So that's it for me, and I'll take any questions or if you have any before I turn it over to my very able assistant.
Thank you, Dr. Bolandi. We have a few questions. Diane Johnson.
Thank you, Donovan. I'd like to defer first to Michael and Berta.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bellande, thank you for that interesting presentation. Like you, I'm a career educator. I spent 7 years teaching at Dwight Morrow High School. And one of the things that I noticed is that when you're talking about accountability, focus was solely on the teachers and the teaching assistants, not on the principals. There was one principal who's basically been rotated from building to building, and maybe to some extent responsible for many of the problems that we have in the district, because he's been a very ineffective administrator. But I have a couple of other questions for you, which I've put into the chat.
Let me take a look at it. First of all, I did say the administrators were the problem.
Right. But I don't know if you're.
I didn't focus on the teachers and the aides. I solely focused on the administration.
Yeah, some of the administrators.
Yeah, that's how I opened my presentation, to tell you the problem is administration, not teachers. So just for I wanted to correct you on that. I didn't want you to walk away thinking that I never said teachers. I said administrators. That's important.
No, but part of the problem has been that the board always thinks that the principals cannot do anything wrong, and that the teachers are the only ones, so maybe the guidance counselors.
To be very, very candid with you, academic performance and academic readiness and all the things I just discussed is squarely on the administration.
Right. Well, I have 44 years in the classroom with middle school, high school, and college. So,
Okay. Okay. Let me answer a couple of questions. I think first of all, okay, we're looking at science now as we speak in high school. Can a retired teacher return to the classroom without losing retirement? Yes, the new law went through. Retired teachers can go back and teach and still collect their pensions, and it won't affect their pensions. And I believe the max is 2 years in any one place, like it is for me. So it's the same identical situation. So the answer to that one, yes, they can. Now let's see. Yes, they could do coordination of curriculum, they could do teaching, they could do a myriad of things in the district and come out of retirement to do that and still maintain their pension. Yes, they can.
good.
Look at the other one. Okay, that goes back to it. Yeah, yeah. Am I evaluating administration? Absolutely. Will I be making changes in the current administrative group? Will I be moving people? The answer is yes. I can't tell you what. That's a personnel issue, obviously, but
Right.
I will be making recommendations to the board on the current administrative structure and how I see that current structure working better than it is right now. I truly believe that one of the things we did, and I'll just briefly say this to give you an idea of where we restructured administrators. One of the things I asked the board to do was go back to the vice principal model, but change it a little bit. So vice principals, whatever building they're in, would have to have at least 5 years of teaching experience in that building. So if I'm going to hire a vice principal of a high school, that vice principal has to have at least 5 years teaching experience in the high school and has to be certified in a high school discipline. So they can no longer, you can no longer, what happened here, you had, elementary people in the high school who never taught in high school, never understood high school. And then you had the converse. You had high school people going into K1, 2 buildings and never even understanding that. And that doesn't work, by the way. You got to have people in their discipline. So that's changed. That's a positive change. Any vice principal now comes in the school district will have to be certified and have experience in the building that they're going to be a vice principal in. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah. Let's see the board. Okay. Yeah. We now have ESL assistants now in the building. We also brought back the bilingual ESL coordinator, Mercedes Gill, who was let go about 6 years ago. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. It was one of the dumbest moves you could ever make, but I don't know why it was made. We have a high ESL Latino population in our district, but we eliminate the person who understands how to change that and help that. That person is now back, and we have hired bilingual ESL people. And we also have hired, and Jennifer will talk to this at length. I'm going to put her on in a few minutes. She'll talk about the recruitment that we're trying to do, and that will further answer that question.
Bert?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bert, you have a question?
No, I actually have so many comments. I don't think I'll be able to say all of them. I'll try to just use just groups of words and not even go into sentences, except that as a parent in this district and a teacher in the district, I saw things that I don't know that the administrators look at. There was a level of dysfunction in families that, of course, as a result of poverty, should be expected. So I felt that kids needed and parents needed emotional support and anger management and a whole lot of things. I actually saw parents beating their children in school in front of everyone because the child had failed, even though that parent was nowhere, wasn't helping the kid. After school, the parent wasn't there. The kid didn't get to do homework, and now the kid was being beaten for this. So as a result, as I say, I really have to make it short. I decided to, because since I myself wasn't a good parent, I decided to go to a parenting class, which was so good. I brought the parenting class here in Englewood, but people were angry at me. They said that I am saying to them that they are bad parents. As a result of of violence that I saw in the kids and with the parents, you know, the way they were treating their kids, I started trying to bring anger management also in. They asked me whether I never heard of the switch, because that's how they bring their kids to order. They just have to use the switch. So there are very important cultural things that bring apathy to those kids, so that in spite of their brilliant intelligence, they might not even want to be alive. They just, you know, and all of this has the effect of poverty. So in order to raise self-motivating children, you really need to give them emotional support. As a result, because we all, I mean, especially the minorities here, really suffer in this culture. There's a lot of stress on the parents, and that gets transferred to the children. There needs to be some of that. And I am very, you know, thankful that you were able to do, you know, you have a good track of success with these other schools. I hope that this replicates here, but I really feel that just some emotional support would go a long way.
So we're
let me
coming
give-
up,
let me give
sorry,
you-
sorry, just one quick comment, Dr. Bolandi. So we're coming up to the hour. If anyone needs to jump off, thank you for attending this meeting. Please leave your happy dollars in the chat before you go. Please go ahead, Dr. Bolandi.
Okay, just let me give you a little insight on excellent point you made, by the way. We are doing a lot of, we've started social emotional programs in each one of our buildings.
Yeah.
Just so what we've done too is, because we believe I believe and the board has bought into it, mental health is a very important part of what we do. We have, with Bergen Family, we have what we call a zone program in the high school, which is a counseling-based program. We established a zone program in the middle school, which is a counseling-based program, and we placed support counselors in our other two buildings. So we do have a fairly extensive mental health program in our districts, and we are looking at trauma-based education and looking at things that in poverty trauma, as you said. So we're looking at that. So we have those programs in place as of September. So I wanted to tell you that the point you made is an excellent one, and we have started to address that, and we have the personnel to address it as of September. Thank you for that, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds wonderful.
Diane?
Yes, quickly, I just want to make a correction. I said you came in the spring of 2020 when it was 2021. You know, it just seems like you've gotten so much done in such a short amount of time. It's hard to believe that you've only been here since the spring of 2021. But I did also want to say to welcome Sherry Banks Watson, who's a board member, Angela David, who's a board member, and Bill Feinstein, who's a board member. And then my question to you, Dr. Bellande and Ms. Fuentes, is how can we, Rotary, help the effort? Is there anything specific?
I think it's you know, any community-based agency can help in the effort by if you have expertise. I'll give you an example. We haven't gotten to this yet, and we will get to it, I hope, in September. by looking at agencies and saying, okay, how many people in your agency maybe want to help? You know, we have students that could need tutorial programming. You have some ex-teachers here who maybe might want to help and say, okay, I have a couple hours during the day. I could come in and I could take some kids to do some tutorial work with them. That's how you help. It's more people power than money. Obviously, money is important too, but it's more people power. I mean, the more people you can have help students in this learning environment will help us. We haven't gotten to there yet. I think the next step is volunteering and getting a volunteer program in the community. One of the things I'm going to recommend to the board before I leave, and I'm going to actually show them what a volunteer program looks like. And I think in September, agencies like yours I should be contacted. I hope they are, and asked, okay, here's what we need. You know, we have an engineering program. Does anybody have engineering, mathematics? We have a health medical program. Does anybody can share some information there? I mean, we have some students in the elementary school that could use some tutorial work. You have some hours during the day you can give, and that's how you help. I mean, more the people power. As opposed to the writing of checks. You know, we need people power now. We need people to help our kids. We need money too. Obviously, money does help, but I think more important to me, organizations with people, because you have people, and I'm not coming for money. When I come, I'm coming for people. You know, how can you help us, you know, and help our kids? That's the best way you can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Dr.
much for
Bolandi.
that.
Dr. Bolandi, would you like Ms. Sifuentes to say?
Yeah, I would, because I don't want to. I don't want to leave. I have my Dr. Sifuentes she's still on? I think I didn't see her, but
I'm
she's
here.
still there.
Yes.
Okay. She is currently the assistant superintendent in the district. Works with me very closely. Her expertise is many, many things. One of the things that she does quite well is in the area of human resources and personnel. I'm going to turn it over to her. She's going to give you an example of, you know, some of the recruitment we've done, but that's not her only job though. She does a lot of things than that. But today I just asked her to talk about recruitment. So go ahead, Jen, go ahead.
Hey everyone, how are you? I'm Jennifer Sifuentes, Director of Human Resources and Acting Assistant Superintendent. I assist with anything and everything that comes my way. A couple of highlights that we've got here in the district. I'll show you this slide. We started off the school year with really focusing on HR work that needed to be done in order to support Dr. Bolandi and our vision of really incorporating programming that supported all of our students and focusing on achievement. And the very first thing that we did was hired a cadre of diverse new hires for each of our 5 school locations. And some of that was replacing teachers who had retired, resigned, or gone out on leave, but also hiring for new positions such as intervention positions, which have absolutely been pivotal to our progress and our achievement in the last 6 months. The second thing that we did was really reaching out to our community to recruit for positions such as building-based substitutes, lunch, recess, and transportation aid positions. Right now with the pandemic, as you've probably seen in every store and restaurant and agency that you've gone to in the last couple of years, it's been very challenging to have in-person employees come out, work with our students, especially when, you know, they themselves are worried about COVID, worried about leaving their home if they have children of their own, keeping themselves healthy and safe. So we've really worked and partnered with as many community groups as possible. Ms. Jansen, one of the ways that we would love to have the Rotary support is really helping us spread the word for recruiting purposes. There are a couple of groups that I regularly email when I have positions I'm posting for or having a hard time finding applicants for. So if you have a base of community members that we could advertise with, I'd love to send you some of our information in regards to open positions. The other thing that we really worked on quite a bit at the beginning of the school year and became extremely important over the winter was COVID-19 employee testing. We've just opened it up to students as well. So we offer employee and student testing here at the Dwight Morrow High School campus twice a week on Monday and Thursday afternoons. Any student can be tested whenever a parent, would like to have them come in and be tested. And as I mentioned, that part is new, but we've been testing our employees since October, actually late September, and it's gone well. It's really helped us keep our campuses healthy. And the last thing that I've worked a lot with this particular year is community outreach. Responding to Ida was probably the very first thing that we did when Ida came through, and we had families that had lost their school supplies, backpacks, new school clothes, didn't have food, clothing, personal items, sheets, towels, etc. We quickly went into action as a district to support our community, coordinated some food drives and some household item drives, got our families in touch with some of our counselors who maybe needed to talk, tried to connect families to resources, and really worked our way through that event in the fall. As we look forward to next year, we will be continuing to recruit exceptional employees for all of our open positions here in the district. We want to increase our recognition opportunities for our educators and our employees who work hard every single day to serve our students. And we're really looking to expand our support for our novice teachers so that all of those recruitment efforts as we move through the summer and getting those employees into place, we can support them and they can be successful in their position as we move into next year, because certainly there will be a lot of hard work that continues needs to be done. Does anyone have any questions for me? Those are just a few of the things that we do around here. Ms. Jansen?
Dr. Sifuentes, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were a doctor and I apologize.
No worries.
I would like to also ask, will you be developing a mentoring program that we could perhaps help with? And we do have social media outlets that we can help with. And Alita Frizzell, who is our one of our assistant governors, she is our chair of public affairs here. And between Alita and myself on Englewood News, and I think we have someone else here, or we did, another one of our members does Englewood Today, we could really help get the word out, anything that you want.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
I'll follow. I'm sorry.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Yes. Please feel free to email me. I would love to connect with each and every one of you in regards to getting the word out about things going on in the district. One of the things I'm trying to do too is to utilize our school district website and really put important information on there so that we can get information, whether it's pre-K, kindergarten registration, or most recently it's our COVID testing information out. So I'd love to connect with each and every one of you. But to your question in regards to mentoring, we already have a state-approved Department of Education mentoring program for our certified educators. That's one of the requirements for our novice teachers. However, we would love to have community support in our different programs, whether it's teacher or support staff recognition through any of these community outreach events. If we have, for instance, if we had connected prior to our vaccination event, I would have loved to partner with the Rotary Club in order to get the information out. But we can think of all kinds of ways to connect and collaborate, sure.
Phil?
Yes, Dr. Bellande, I'm sorry, would you help me with the pronunciation of your name, sir?
Dr. Bolandi, you're muted.
Yeah, it's Bolandi.
Bellande. Be very brief.
You,
Phil,
yeah,
Am I unmute? Am I?
you're unmuted now.
you're still muted.
Phil, Phil, unmute yourself.
Wait just a minute.
Phil, yes, can you start over, Phil? You were muted.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. Now, Valenti, my family has a foundation, a family foundation. And a good deal of the emphasis of the trustees is on education and enhancing education, particularly for students, diverse students, gender, race, diversity across the spectrum, where students who, but for lack of resources, would really achieve very, very well.
Right.
Now, the foundation has made grants over a period of the past 4 to 5 years. And in many cases, grants previously made are now being revoked for really lack of effectiveness in terms of the grants that have been made. So that in turn leaves the foundation available with existing funds for ventures such as you've outlined, okay? There are 2 areas in which we are particularly eager to apply emphasis. The first for the advancement or the enhancement of music and art in the public school system, number 1.
Mhm.
Now, that would require this, that you or members of your staff would have to sit down with us and indicate what your goal is. Then in turn, we would jointly decide on the amount of money it would take to achieve that goal. And there is a cap in terms of the expenditure. Secondly, there would have to be a firm understanding that if the program is outlined, that there be a display of the results of the program. How
Right.
effective was it? Okay, that's number 1. So that covers the music and arts. Number 2, the next one is in the, call it the STEM area. NJIT, you know the institution,
Right.
has told our foundation that they are eager to find students, probably in the middle school level, who have the ability or have the goal of getting into something like engineering, one of the technical subjects at NJIT. However, when they've gone to school districts looking for kids with that ability, for example, obviously in NJIT, the students would have to be good in calculus, right? They find the younger student then is either deficient in pre-calc or the system has not taught the pre-calc, okay? So in that program, once again, if the Englewood district can produce a student or students, then a budget would be set up where as a student qualifies on whatever criteria is available, that then the facilities are there for the student to coordinate with the college, which might mean transportation or whatever it takes. So in a very broad sense, those are the 2 areas that should be spelled out a little more in a personal meeting with you or one of your associates.
Okay, I would like to do that because both areas I think we can look at and probably give you a very strong proposal. What are the caps on it? Because that's always interesting because if people know what kind of money they're looking at, different programs create different dollar amounts. Do you have a cap on either one of those programs?
Both programs would probably be capped, each one $5,000.
Okay. Okay.
By the way, when you use the word cap, I would rather use a different financial approach. The approach first is
So sorry, Phil,
defining
but
defining the
excuse me,
mission.
Phil.
I'll wrap it up,
Yeah, okay.
Donovan. Defining the mission, and then after the mission is defined, try to get some guesstimate of what it would cost for effectiveness or follow through. But from your point of view, a starting point would be $5,000 per effort.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want to have my people put $100,000 proposal in front of you.
No.
We can do that. That's why I asked you what your dollar amount was. You know, I mean, because, you know, if I let them go, they'll put a proposal together that will, I don't want to waste your time and their time, you know, with trying to put something together like that.
Would you come back to me on setting up a meeting?
Sure, absolutely. Do you have a contact? Can you give me your number where I can contact you?
Yeah, sure.
I'll-
201.
Dr. Bolandi, I'll get you his contact information.
Okay, all right, thank
Yes.
you.
Good.
I'll do that, Phil.
I'll be in touch with you, Phil.
So,
Thank you.
I think we're going to move on to the next section. Diane, do you have any final words?
I would just like to say, thank you, Dr. Bellande. You have a lot of fans here, and we're looking forward to our continued partnership. The same, Dr. Sifuentes, you have the same. And it's such a pleasure to finally meet you after all this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Bolandi and Dr. Sifuentes, thank you for attending today, and thank you for the wonderful presentations. We don't have enough time for more questions. Any final comments, Dr. Bolandi?
First of all, thank you. It's, you know, I gave you a lot of information. Again, I referenced the website if you want to see the plan and the full PowerPoint. I only showed you some of it. And if you have any questions, you can send them to me through email. Both Jennifer and I have email addresses on the website. Just go there, or, you know, mine, and we will answer them. And Donovan has them if anybody needs them. So we will be more than anxious to hear anybody's questions so we can help, because like I said, this is you said in the beginning, we all have to be united in trying to help our students achieve. So thank you for today. I'm sorry I took your whole meeting. I can do that. I was trying to I get rolling and I keep going. So it's hard. And Donovan Jennifer just put our emails in the chat. Okay. See, Jennifer puts Dr. Bolandi, but she doesn't put Dr. Her, which I think is interesting. So she left it off again. But that's okay. We have a running joke about this, you know. So Jen is also extremely highly educated and one of the best people we have in the district to deal with our students, as I'm sure you saw today. So thank you. I appreciate your time today.